The, the Continuance built their anchor signal to guarantee their own survival. They had been engineering it for 600 years. A distributed immortality architecture, they called it, woven into every command node across their 17 transit corridors. The signal propagated at light speed through relay chains, binding each node to the network, ensuring that if any one of them came under threat, the entire continuance could disperse, scatter, fragment, reconstitute somewhere unreachable. It was elegant. It was thorough. It was the reason, their strategists had concluded, the continuance could not be destroyed. They were almost right. My name is Marin Voss. I held the rank of second communications officer aboard the strike hull ISV Thornwall when the sealed reckoning closed the distance on the Continuance's first corridor. I was 29 years old. I had been at my station for 11 hours before we crossed the threshold, and I will tell you what I saw. The offense that brought us there was not a battle. It was paperwork. The Veth Continuance had, for 14 months, operated a bandwidth management protocol across 9 human-adjacent transit corridors. Protocol was not new. They had run versions of it for decades, modulating signal traffic in what they described as contested transmission bands. What was new, beginning in the 43rd month of the Thalvin-adjacent compact, was the frequency range they chose to manage. It overlapped, at 94.7% fidelity, with the emergency distress beacon standard used by every human colonial station, survey outpost, and civilian transit hub in those 9 systems. 31,408 people sent distress calls during those 14 months. Failures, atmospheric cascade events, hull breaches, a station fire on Sarathouder that burned for 9 days, a colony on Velen's 4th moon that lost primary life support in their 3rd winter. Continuance's bandwidth management protocol suppressed every one of those signals. Not jammed, suppressed, managed, filed under corridor variants. The distinction mattered to them. Their administrative records show that their signal engineers flagged the overlap in month 2 and recommended a frequency adjustment. The recommendation was reviewed. That adjusting the frequency range would require renegotiation of their corridor licensing with 4 separate transit authorities, and that the administrative burden of that process outweighed the operational benefit of the change. The recommendation was closed. Protocol continued for another 12 months. 31,408 people. Continuance logged them as signal corridor externalities. We did not log them as anything. We remembered every name. Response was not assembled in anger. The sealed reckoning, 22 strike hulls, 9 signal engineering platforms, and the command vessel Immovable Cause was built in 11 months in a dry construction orbit above Kareth Station, and every engineering decision made in those 11 months was made with the same question at the center. How do you destroy something that was designed to scatter the moment you arrive? The answer, it turned out, was in the Continuance's own architecture. Their anchor signal was a binding mechanism. It held each node to the network, synchronized their dispersal timing, ensured coordinated response, signal to function. Every node had to remain in continuous contact with the relay chain. Earth signal engineers, 3 teams, working in shifts for 8 months, found the synchronization protocol embedded in the carrier wave. It was not encrypted. The Continuance had never imagined anyone would need to interfere with it, because interfering with it would require accessing the signal from inside their own relay infrastructure. We accessed it from outside. We built a counter-resonance emitter, scaled it across 9 of our signal engineering platforms, and when the sealed reckoning reached the edge of the first corridor, we activated it. The anchor signal, reversed, became a lock. Every Continuance command node, 91 of them, across all 17 corridors, froze in position. The dispersal architecture could not engage because the engagement signal was being reflected back into the relay chain at the synchronization layer. Inside the Continuance network, it looked like every node was responding normally. From outside, nothing was moving. They were fixed, held in place by the same signal they had built to hold themselves together. I was the one who confirmed lock acquisition. I read the counter-resonance return signal off my board, ran the verification sequence twice, and passed the reading to Commander Hev Ralor, was standing 3 meters behind me at the main plotting table. He looked at the numbers. He looked at them for a long time. All nodes confirmed fixed, he said. All 91, sir. Lock is stable. No dispersal movement detected on any corridor. He did not say anything else. He passed the authorization to immovable cause and the sealed reckoning went to work. I will not describe the 4 hours and minutes followed. Because the record exists, and the record is sufficient. 2 strike hulls. 9 transit corridors. 91 command nodes. The Continuance's defensive platforms engaged where they could not call for dispersal, and without dispersal the defensive platforms were operating on local protocols. Isolated, uncoordinated, outweighed. They fought. Some of them fought well. It did not change the outcome. What I will tell you is what I was doing during those 4 hours and 11 minutes, because it was my assignment and I had prepared for it for 8 months. The Continuance's own administrative network was still running. The anchor lock did not touch it. It ran on a separate signal infrastructure, the internal filing and record system that their bureaucracy used to log corridor operations, bandwidth reports, signal variance findings, closed recommendations. It was still open. It was still accepting submissions. I had a filing. The Bureau of Colonial Affairs had prepared it in consultation in fees with the families of the 31,408 dead. It was a counter-record. 1 entry for every person the Continuance had logged as a signal corridor externality. Name, colony, station designation, distress call timestamp, the natures of the emergency, the date of death, and the Continuance's closed recommendation file number that had allowed the suppression to continue after their own engineers identified it. 31,408 individual entries, formatted in the Continuance's own administrative standard, submitted through their own network to their own filing system. I submitted the first entry at hour 1 minute 7. I submitted the last at hour 4 minute 9. The sealed reckoning completed its tasking 2 minutes later. Continuance's network accepted every filing. It had no mechanism to refuse them. The records are there now, inside their own administrative archive, in their own format, by their own submission protocol. Every person they decided was not worth a frequency adjustment. Every name they did not keep. We kept them all. Commander Rallor gave the order to stand the fleet down at hour 4 minute 14. I closed my counter-resonance board, confirmed that the lock signal was no longer required, and powered the emitter array to standby. The anchor signal, the Continuance's 600-year project, their guarantee of permanent survival, was still broadcasting across their relay chain, still binding nodes that were no longer capable of responding to it, propagating through a network that had nothing left to synchronize. We did not shut it off. That was deliberate. Earth signal engineers had calculated that the anchor signal would continue cycling for approximately 9 years before the relay chain degraded past the point of function. For 9 years, anyone in those 17 corridors who wanted to know what the Continuance's immortality architecture looked like in practice could tune to the carrier frequency and listen to it ping empty nodes, waiting for a response that would never come. I don't know if that was mercy or something else. I know it was not an accident. The Bureau of Colonial Affairs closed the Thalvin adjacent compact signal files 11 days after the sealed reckoning, turned to Kareth Station. The closing notation read, Administrative record corrected, all corridor externality classifications revised, matter settled. 31,408 people. The Continuance built the signal to live forever. We used it to hold them still long enough to close the ledger. That is all I have to say about it. The record holds the rest.